It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political, or maybe precise, not and or political power.
Good morning from Athens, Greece. Right behind me down this way is Syntagma Square in the center of Athens, Greece. I'm going to cut through the park and end up on the Olympic Stadium side of things. And I thought this would be a good place for us to talk about the news as we walk through this park. You can hear the cicadas chirping in the background. One thing about Greece is we have a lot of those cicadas. And they're always chirping in the background, keeping us company as we walk. But I thought this would be a good place to talk about Greece's favorite son, the President of the United States, Mr. Joe Bidenopoulos. And he is having a tough go of things. He obviously cannot read a teleprompter, that's for sure. He reads everything on the teleprompter, including the cues. And the Biden White House, the press secretary's office, they tried to cover up for Biden, but they completely bungled the whole thing. He's not fooling anybody. And it looks like the collective West mainstream media, well, they seem to have had enough of Biden as well. The title from Zero Hedge, it reads, "Knives Out. Washington Post, New York Times go for Biden blood in scathing moment of honesty." And this Zero Hedge article makes the point that what really put the mainstream media over the edge with regards to Biden, what really made their blood boil and has prompted them to finally throw Biden under the bus and get rid of him is the Roe v. Wade abortion ruling. An article from CNN, they actually said that after a string of Supreme Court setbacks, Democrats wonder whether the Biden White House is capable of urgency moment demands. And CNN says that he botched the response to Roe v. Wade. Top Democrats complain the president isn't acting with or perhaps is even capable of the urgency the moment demands. That is coming from CNN. The Washington Post and the New York Times, they've also both taken shots at Biden. The Washington Post built on CNN's article, slamming the White House's struggle to respond to the abortion ruling, writing that many Democrats were dismayed by Biden's slow-footed response. The New York Times, they just pretty much said Biden is too old to govern, writing that his team delayed his Middle East trip so the 79-year-old president would have more time to rest following last month's Europe-NATO meeting. I think that the curse of Zelensky, it's taken out Boris Johnson, and I believe the next person it's going to take out is Joe Bidenopoulos. Biden is slated to travel to the Middle East, I believe from July 13th to July 16th. He's going to visit Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the West Bank. And in order to try and justify this trip to Saudi Arabia, where Biden will meet with MBS, a person that he called a pariah and that he blames for the Khashoggi murder, rightly or wrongly, Biden is now going to have to travel to Saudi Arabia and meet with a man that he allegedly despises and grovel at his feet in order to try and convince MBS to get some more oil pumping and some more oil to the collective West markets so that the price can come down a bit. Biden hasn't thought about getting that oil from the U.S., but he's already tapped out the reserves. But nah, He doesn't want to produce the oil domestically. He wants to travel to Saudi Arabia and beg MBS to help him out. And boy, is it going to be quite a show to see Bidenopoulos groveling at the feet of MBS. And MBS is going to absolutely enjoy it. That I am sure of. But he did write an op-ed. Well, supposedly Biden wrote an op-ed. We all know that this op-ed was written by Jake Sullivan and one of his staffers. And this op-ed was published in the Washington Post on Saturday. And Biden was directly responding to critics of his trip to Saudi Arabia. He said that while the human rights issues are always on the agenda, his job is to keep the U.S. strong and secure. That's a direct quote. And a more secure and integrated Middle East benefits Americans in many ways. In the op-ed, he wrote, well, supposedly Biden wrote, "We have to counter Russia's aggression, of course, put ourselves in the best possible position to outcompete China, and work for greater stability in a consequential region of the world. To do these things, we have to engage directly with countries that can impact those outcomes." Biden added that Saudi Arabia is one of those countries. Biden listed some practical benefits of reorienting relations with a country that's been a strategic partner of the United States for 80 years. Quote, "Its waterways are essential to global trade and the supply chains we rely on. Its energy resources are vital for mitigating the impact on global supplies of Russia's war in Ukraine." Biden also said that revealing that oil-rich Saudi Arabia is now working with U.S. experts to stabilize oil markets with other OPEC producers. So Biden is kind of saying that Saudi Arabia is already on board and they're already working with the... Hello there. And they're already working with the United States. And so Biden is going to travel to Saudi Arabia to seal the deal with MBS and to counter Russia, to counter China, and to bring the price of petrol down. And he's doing all of this for the good of the American people. And if you believe that, I have got a very, very big bridge to sell you. But look, the Biden White House, they don't want to produce that oil domestically. They don't want to fix things at home. They're looking for some sort of temporary band-aid to a gaping wound, just to tide them over until the midterms. Maybe they can mitigate some of the damage that's coming their way in November. And of course, the Biden White House sees the same articles coming out of CNN, Washington Post, New York Times. They're seeing what we're seeing and more, and they understand that the mainstream media is starting to turn on them. And that's big, big trouble, because it is the mainstream media that has been carrying the Biden campaign and the presidency over the past 2-3 years. It is the mainstream media that has been carrying Biden. And if they go, well, Biden goes. And that's the curse of Zelensky that's about to hit Biden. And I don't think a trip to Saudi Arabia is going to help. I don't think that MBS is going to be gracious towards Biden. He is going to extract a lot of concessions. And I believe one of those concessions is going to have to do with what's going on in Yemen, and perhaps money, weapons, all kinds of supports and aid, something along the lines of what the Biden White House gives to Ukraine, because MBS has come out multiple times complaining that the Biden White House has given Ukraine $50-60 billion and all these weapons, while his country, Saudi Arabia, the U.S. is one of the U.S.'s greatest allies, has gotten not even half of that support. This is according to MBS that Ukraine has received. So I imagine that MBS is going to extract a lot of goodies from Bidenopoulos. And Bidenopoulos, if he wants any kind of help from Saudi Arabia, he's going to have to agree to MBS's terms. So that is the situation with Biden. His approval numbers are sinking. Almost every week they're getting lower and lower. I don't know how much lower they can go, but if things continue, he'll probably have an approval rate of something like 20% or something like that. He'll catch up to Kamala. I think Kamala's approval rating is somewhere around there. But let's talk about the energy crisis, because France, a country which isn't so reliant on Russian energy, they are now sounding the alarm bells. Actually, France is one of the countries that is least dependent on Russian gas supplies with regards to Europe. 17% of France's total supply actually comes from Russia. So they're not really that dependent on Russian gas, but they are very, very worried that Russia is going to turn off the gas. And as a matter of fact, this week, this was already planned and everyone knew about it, but this week and for the next 10 days, Gazprom is shutting off all the gas from Nord Stream 1. So the 100% that then turned to 60% gas flow because Trudeau and Schultz were not able to repair these turbines. Now the 60% is also going to become 0% for the next 10 days because of scheduled maintenance. This was already planned, and all the countries and the companies and partners already knew about this maintenance. But still, this is not going to help Europe's energy problems. And so the French authorities are preparing for a complete suspension of gas supplies from Russia, according to France's finance minister, Bruno Le Maire, who sees such a full shutdown as, and I quote, the most likely scenario. I think that a total cutoff of Russian gas supplies is a real possibility, and we need to prepare for this scenario, Le Maire said, speaking on the sidelines of a conference in southern France, as cited by Reuters. It would be totally irresponsible to ignore this scenario, he said. We're pretty much already there. According to the finance minister, the first line of defense is for households and businesses to reduce energy consumption. Then the construction of new infrastructure like a floating plant that will be able to regasify shipments of liquefied natural gas from overseas. Paris is also looking company by company to see which could be forced to scale back production capacities to save energy if necessary, Le Maire said. Basically, he is just repeating everything that we've been hearing from the German government and from Habeck over the past couple of weeks, i.e., no hot showers for consumers, no heat in the winter in your homes. That's going to be on the consumer side of things. Don't wash your clothes, put them out to air dry, according to Timmermans at the European Union. He's like the vice commissioner. All of these things that we've been hearing for the past month, this is what France is now saying. And on the business side of things, he is echoing also what Habeck said a couple of weeks ago, which is that countries in the European Union are going to have to start to choose which businesses will remain open and operate and which businesses are going to need to pretty much shut down. Let's say, I don't know, which businesses are going to need to lock down come winter because they won't be allowed to stay open and use energy, use gas. And we're going to see EU countries pick and choose which businesses are necessary and vital to the economy and which ones are going to be shut down. And then he actually floats this idea of a floating LNG regasify hub. to regasify shipments, a floating plant, because building these floating plants is just, just takes a couple of weeks to build these plants, no big deal. So they can stick a bunch of these floating regasify LNG plants all over the Mediterranean and the Aegean, and problem solved, right? And then you can bring all the LNG from the US into these floating plants and regasify everything, and then send them to LNG plants in Europe, and everything's going to be a-okay. And all of this can get built in a matter of weeks and months. No. It's not going to happen. This is pie in the sky stuff. But for France to sound the alarm bells, things are bad, because 17%, that's their reliance on Russian energy, and they're starting to freak out. So that is what is happening in Europe with the gas situation, and we are still in early July. Can you imagine the articles we're going to be talking about and the news we're going to be discussing with regards to energy and gas come September, October? Oh boy, can you say a Sri Lanka moments hitting the EU? Let's see. Let's wait and see. We still have a couple of months left of summer. And speaking of summer, we now have word from Ukraine President Zelensky that he has given the order for the counteroffensive to take place in southern Ukraine, Zaporozhye and Kherson regions. Zelensky has indeed given the order. He is saying that they have 1 million strong fighting force amassed in the country and ready to recapture these southern areas. Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov told The Times, quote, "We understand that politically it's very necessary for our country. The president has given the order to the supreme military chief to draw plans," he said in an interview published on Sunday. Quote, "We're people of the free world and with a real sense of justice and liberty. We have approximately 700,000 in the armed forces, and when you add the National Guard, police, border guard, we are around 1 million strong," the minister said. Reznikov also praised the British effort to help Ukraine, especially Ben Wallace, Britain's defense secretary, who, according to him, was key to helping shift the approach from providing Soviet equipment to NATO standard 155 mm artillery, guided multiple launch rocket systems, and high-tech drones. So very interesting. It looks like Ukraine would like Ben Wallace to be the next prime minister of the UK. So is Ukraine going to get what it asks? Will the globalists decide to put Ben Wallace in as prime minister? Very interesting that they're praising Ben Wallace. The Zelensky regime is praising the UK defense minister. Now we know who they want to be prime minister, though I believe whoever becomes prime minister is going to follow along Boris Johnson's line with regards to Ukraine. But still, the preference is for Ben Wallace. So they have 1 million strong army amassed, ready, given the order to begin some sort of massive counteroffensive in the regions, the southern regions of Zaporozhye and Kherson. And following along those lines, we have the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Miss Irina Vereshchuk, who said on Sunday that Kiev is indeed preparing a counteroffensive in the south. And she said the armed forces of Ukraine will launch a counteroffensive in the near future. Quote, "I don't know in what numbers this will happen." 1 million is what is what the defense ministry said. "I don't know what numbers this will happen, but I know for sure that there should be in the cities of the alleged theater of operations, definitely not to be women and children. It is clear that there will be active hostilities, including shelling, so we urge our citizens to urgently evacuate." That is what Vereshchuk said. And the defense ministry said 1 million, so she's saying she's not sure of the number. Zelensky has given the order. We just don't know an exact time frame. We've heard in the past that this counteroffensive is slated for August, late July, August. So let's wait and see. Let's keep an eye out for this counteroffensive. They're pretty much telegraphing what they're going to do, and I'm sure if there is some sort of counteroffensive being prepared with a 1 million-strong army, I'm pretty positive that the Russian military knows about it. A 1 million-strong army. Wow. That is quite a fighting force. But everyone is now ready and waiting to see what's going to happen. Maybe this is like an Zelensky brilliant military strategic head fake. Maybe he's saying he's got a 1 million-strong army ready for this big counteroffensive in Zaporozhye and Kherson, but in actuality, that 1 million-strong army is just a diversion, and he's going to send some crack commando units to liberate, I don't know, Lugansk or Lysychansk, or maybe they're going to go to Kharkov again and plant a border post on the Ukraine-Russian border. Or maybe they're going to go after Snake Island again. I don't know. Maybe they're going to recapture what they supposedly captured again. I have no clue. Do you guys honestly believe that Ukraine has a 1 million-strong army and they're going to mount a counteroffensive in Kherson and Zaporozhye? What do I think is going on? This is just another way to make a play for more weapons, more money, to send the signals, the media signals, to the collective West that Ukraine is not defeated. They've actually been, while they've been fighting the Donbass, they've also actually been preparing this massive army, something akin to a Hollywood movie. And this 1 million-strong army is preparing for the big liberation of the territory that is controlled now by Russia. At the end of the day, this is just a way to extend the military aid, the money and the weapons for another couple of months. That's how I see it. But who knows? Maybe he does have a 1 million-strong military hiding somewhere in the west of Ukraine or in Poland or Romania. I don't know. Maybe they're hiding on Snake Island. Maybe he's managed to cram a million people on Snake Island, and they're there, ready and waiting. So that is the word coming out of Ukraine. The big counteroffensive is almost upon us. Ukraine has not launched a successful counteroffensive throughout this entire special military operation, throughout this entire conflict. What makes everyone believe that they're going to actually launch a successful counteroffensive with 1 million troops now? Who knows? But he's going to definitely go get more money and more weapons because of this. For this, there's no doubt. Send another $500 million, Joe Bidenopoulos, to Ukraine. Go ahead, because you have to help Ukraine prepare for this counteroffensive. The same goes for Ursula von der Crazy and for Prime Minister-to-be, if you go by Ukraine, Ben Wallace. Send some more money so that Ukraine can prepare for this counteroffensive. That's going to be the media narrative. So to finish things off with the news for the day, let's talk about Clown World. And I got a link from Robert Barnes to a pretty incredible story from, I guess, a journalist blogger who became obsessed with the General Pavel incident. I don't know if you remember General Pavel. He was supposedly he was the very much overweight general who Putin brought back from retirement because Russia was having their generals picked off one by one by the Zelensky regime, and he was running out of military leaders. And so Putin pulled this General Pavel out of retirement so that he could lead Russia in its fight against Ukraine. And a lot of UK publications, including The Sun, the Daily Star, pretty much the entire collective West, to be honest, they ran with this story that so many Russian generals have now been picked off by the Zelensky regime that Putin is so desperate that he is bringing up from the bench retired General Pavel, and everyone was making fun of the fact that Putin was having to bring back retired generals. They were making fun of the photo of General Pavel and all of these things, and they had all of these photos of Pavel standing there at some sort of ceremony. And so a lot of people were calling BS on this Pavel narrative. And sure enough, there were some journalists who decided to really dig into this and to get to the truth of who General Pavel is. Does he really exist? Is this story for real, or is this collective West mainstream media fake news? And I'm going to put a link to this story. I'm going to put a link to the investigation that was conducted to get to the bottom of the General Pavel mystery. And you're going to see all the photos and all the research that went into this. And I am now going to give everybody a spoiler. So if you want to skip over this part and end the video there, that is fine. The link for the General Pavel story will be in the description box down below. But here comes the spoiler, and I'm going to end the video with the spoiler as to General Pavel. Is he real or is he fiction? General Pavel is fiction. There is no such person. The truth of the matter is that General Pavel is made up. The photo that everyone was passing around the internet mocking General Pavel was actually taken at a type of border crossing ceremony event where in the Zelensky district, by the way, the Volgograd Oblast, and in this event, you had one of the people attending, someone who goes by the name of Ivan. I forgot his last name, Ivan, and he is the man known as General Pavel, and he is indeed a retired border crossing official. that is who he is. He's like a border crossing military official. And this was a border crossing event that he was attending. From what I gather, it was actually, I think, a couple of years ago. The border guard ceremony, I think it was in 2013, actually, if I'm reading this correctly. Yes, Yelan's Border Guard Day ceremony in 2013. And his name is Ivan Ivanovich Turchin, a 50-year-old veteran of both the Russian military and the border guard. He retired in 2011 after 20 years of service at the border in Uzbekistan. That is who General Pavel is. Another fictitious, fake news, mainstream media story debunked. There you have it. All those Russian generals that were getting picked off by Zelensky one by one, and Putin was forced to go to General Pavel, a retired general, and to go to his bench and bring up Pavel so that he can somehow stop the might of the Zelensky military, because he ran out of generals. And Shoigu was having his 20th or 30th heart attack. By the way, Putin was also in and out of hospitals with various diseases and ailments and stuff like that. You notice how all those stories kind of faded away now? The more Russia wins and the more they win big, the more these stories about Putin being ill and Shoigu heart attacks and Russian generals getting picked off one by one, those stories have disappeared. Anyway, I will leave it there, everybody. Thank you to the great Robert Barnes for an absolutely incredible Clown World story. Once again, I'll put the links to this investigation, this research that was done to General Pavel, because when you go through all the evidence that these journalists uncovered, it's really incredible the amount of misdirection and lies that the collective West is feeding us. So with that said, check out Alexandra's channel. Check out the Duran's channel. Go to the Duran.locals.com. Go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. You can hear the cicadas. They are wishing everybody a very, very good day indeed. Take care.